Saludos y bienvenidos everybody to the PGP podcast. Hey, everybody, episode 120. Legal Eagles, thank you for being here. Special time. I don't know, Moreno. I think we might be a little bit. People might not have gotten the message that instead of 5 p.m. it's 3 p.m., but it's okay. They could watch it on the rebroadcast. Josh Tobar, proud principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland ISD, Garland, USA. Ready to rock and roll with you. Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, New Zealand, Tanzania, Ghana, the Costa will be here soon joining us. Great for being here. We want to thank you. One thing that is not guaranteed in life is time. And you can either watch it live or on the rebroadcast. Thank you for giving us some of your time. You have Mari and myself, 63 years of experience here for you, and ultimately our awesome guests. Remember that we're part of the Fantastic Four with Coach Sean Hurt, Facebook Live at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to know something about data, you know all the scores are in, call that cat. He will help you. Then at 10:30, you got Tammy and Shika, the doctors. They will help you with their culture. They were told by their superintendent many years ago, change that school or you're out of here. You're fired. And in 1 year, they changed 2-letter grades and 3-letter grades. Talk about changing the culture of a campus. Those are the ladies you need to call. What can I say about 11 o'clock? El Jefe, Principal Cafele. He's always in the house. I don't know where he's traveling right now, but El Jefe at 11 o'clock. And we are the fourth show, the PGP podcast right here. So please remember to like and share. Help us out with the algorithm. The biggest platform in the globe is YouTube. So help us out, get that algorithm, because we have every single last person out there that has to do with education. It doesn't matter if there's superintendents, principals, assistant principals, new teachers, veteran teachers, retired teachers, how to save for your pension. We've had every single last type of show, and this is a one-stop shop for everybody in education. So please like and share. Go to our YouTube, Josh Tovar, follow it right there. Help us get to 290. 290 is not a lot to ask for, so please help us out with that. And if you want to be part of the show, please reach out to that lady, to myself, and we'll guarantee you that we will find a place for you and you bring your experience, because it doesn't matter where you're at, whether you are in Maine or in Florida, whether you're in Alaska or you're in Hawaii or anywhere in the 48 middle, we're all going through the same stuff. We can't find certified teachers. We have no money. We're broke. We can't find the kids. We don't know where they're going. And when they're here, they don't go to school. We're all facing the same adversity, and we're only stronger together, because remember, iron sharpens iron, and we need to learn from each other. Moreno, ¿cómo estás tú?
I'm doing great, Josh. This is a different hour for me, so you know what? I'm a little spunky, but I'm here in Houston, Texas. You can tell my spiders are up. And guess what? Football is going to get started really soon, so I'm excited about football, college football. And so, yeah, excited, Josh. Been busy, really, really busy. I am celebrating our grade 7 is graduating from Tanzania, and I know I'm going to spoil it here, but I am creating their first yearbook. Can you believe that? So I got all the pictures of all the kids when I was there back in July. I'll be back in November, and I'm going to give everybody their little photos that I took of them, and then give them a yearbook. They're probably going to say, what is this?
But that's a beautiful gift right there that you're creating for them. How are you going to give it to them? That Apple book thing, or what are you going to do?
No, I'm actually going to print it on Canva. So I need to go ahead, and I need a couple of more, for like the seniors. We have 7th graders that are graduating. They graduate in 7th grade. So I'm asking them to give me, what's their favorite animal and what do they want to do when they grow up. So this little bio for them. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do, and create it and print it. And then we only have 14 7th graders. So a little gift for them.
Perfect. Great. And well, this is the time where we do the Chinchilagua moment, an idea, a thought. And Lisa Ray's like, what is Chinchilagua? Do you add sour cream on that? No, it's not a food. Jim is like, Chinchilagua? What is that? Christina's like, I don't know how you eat that. Is that like raw or medium well done? Chinchilagua is a Mexican game. It's a Mexican game during all our traditional celebrations when we have 10,000 people in one little apartment. We all bring a bunch of food, but there's so many of us that we go outside and we play. We all line up against the wall and we yell, Chinchilagua y arriba, boy! And you go running and you jump on top of your grandma. And you go running the next person, you jump on top of your cousin, then on top of your mom, and it becomes a human pyramid. until it all comes crashing down. Well, it's all fun and games. It's all fun and games until something happens. So this is my thought today. Shika talked about her daughter yesterday on her show not making the team. And she said, I've been a principal for many years. And the way coaches, what they do is that they post the list outside, right? Mm-hmm. They post the list outside of who made the team and who didn't make the team. And so her daughter was heartbroken because, you know, her name was on it. Obviously, you sat in the chair, you know what we're talking about. You know that happens. And then Shika talked about, you know, a better way of not only just not putting the name, but of saying what can they work on to become that starter, to become that person with a uniform. Valid point. I understand what, you know, it is. But I want to build from that conversation because, like you said, it's almost football. Friday Night Lights in Texas. Ain't nothing better than Friday Night Lights in Texas. Nothing better. And so my thought right here is this. Hey, Dad. Hey, Mom. If your kid made the team, keep your opinions to yourself. Hey, Dad. Hey, Mom. You're not the coach. Don't be yelling from the bench what play to run. Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. Because your kid's not a starter, you're not in charge. You're not there through all the practices. You're not there. You don't know if your kid is there, the last one getting out of the locker room, the one forgetting or not eligible, so they're not at practice because they have to go to the teacher and make up a grade. You don't know all of that. And so if you're happy or not happy with the coach, you have to keep your opinions to yourself. Trust me, I was in a school where they had not won a game in 4 years for football. 0-7,000. Let me tell you, it's not fun being the principal of a school where you have not won a football game in years.
True.
And so let me advise you, whatever your opinion is, you have to keep it to yourself. Because if that's what you really want to do, I suggest that you go and you do become a coach so you could see all the picture. And then if you always say, hey, why do they keep running the same play? Because they don't have that type of athlete. Just because you're watching it on the NFL, that does not transfer over to that type of kid. The kid that I had in the lower valley of El Paso is not I can guarantee you, it's not the same kid at DeSoto and Duncanville. Let me repeat it again. The Hispanic Mexican male that I had in my campus in lower valley El Paso does not at all compare to Duncanville or DeSoto. No, they can't throw the ball because they're not 6'5". And if your talent is just to run the ball, that's the best option that you have because that's what your team is composed of or comprised of. And the last thing that I will say, hey, parent, when you say fire the teacher, fire the coach, fire the principal, okay, got you. Amendment number 1 got you. All right. But that does not help the psyche of everybody around you. Not only that, but you don't know who's in the stands with you. And I've had to stop I've been in the middle, Moreno, I've been in the middle of a bench clearing baseball game with kids and parents swinging bats at each other. I've been in the middle of that. God has blessed me with a lot of beautiful experiences. I have been in the middle of rival, like literally hatred towards each other across the freeway, high schools, where I have to stand with security, keeping the kids apart from each other every play so they don't taunt each other. That's not a nice feeling, let me tell you, because every second it could erupt. But there's always someone sparking the fire.
Yeah.
Parents, if you have a question, go one-on-one when it's appropriate, not after practice, not after a game, to find out how your kid, how your athlete can better improve their skills so they could become a starter or more playing time. Well, sorry, we can't talk about playing time. That's against the law. But in order to improve their craft, you saying that coach should be fired, let me tell you this one. When we had to release the coach at my previous campus that had not won many years, he was a very successful coach where he came from. Who do you think wants to take that job, Moreno? Do you think a coach wants to walk into an 0-4, 0-50 something?
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard
what kind of person wants to take over that program that you know they're not getting support from the parents, I try to do my best that I could to support the guy. All right. I was at every football game, away and home, but there's only so much. So instead of putting ourselves down as a campus, sport the colors and avoid saying negative stuff. Let's go back to our kindergarten teacher. If you got nothing nice to say,
Don't
don't say
say it at all.
anything at all. Moreno, what do you think?
Josh, two things real quick. So I was a high school coach. And so I hear you. When you're saying those things, I used to turn around and tell my parents, shh, like you're not helping me. And the second thing also, I mean, and they're like, why are you doing the same play? Well, that's the only play that they know. I'm working with whatever I have. So I get you. But the other thing, Josh, as a principal, let me just tell you about the principal role because you're sitting in there too. But, sometimes we don't have the program and we don't have the coach to fill it. So here I am begging anybody want to be the coach for volleyball, and like nobody wants to do it. And I'm like, because they don't want to, it's more time, more this, more that, or they're just not qualified. They don't even know what to do with the ball. And I'm thinking, I want to provide support for my kids. I want to give them the opportunity to play ball, but I don't have a coach who can actually coach them either because they don't know the sport. So you have to kind of, parents need to understand that, we can't make lemonade sometimes out of the lemons that I have because I just don't have the skills. But I want my kids to have the opportunity to go play ball sometimes. So I put somebody, whoever is available. And I don't know what the law is nowadays, but before I used to have even like paras could be coaches and custodians could be coaches. And now we can't even do that. And so it's just really hard sometimes we want to give the opportunities to our kids, but sometimes we just don't have the teachers to staff them. And so we just beg people to please, take care of the kids and do what they can with them.
And that's a fact, Jack. We'll close it off the Chichirawa moment with this. Parents out there, community, take it from me. This is year 34. It's hard to find referees and it's hard to find coaches. You need to help us to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So let's be kind to those people that are out there taking care of our kids, both being a referee and a coach. So as a flashback, please check us out on episode 106. If you think you're ready to interview, we've got superintendents, we have principals, we have assistant principals to show you how to interview for the different positions at a district level, and episode 110 on how to become part of an association. We had presidents of a lot of Texas association that were here giving us their spiel on how to join all the organizations. So check that out. And I want you to check out 3 awesome lawyers from the state of Texas who are here right now. They're going to give us their knowledge, their time. And just everybody out there, this is not legal advice. All right. If you need a lawyer, go pay a lawyer. All right. You ain't getting nothing for free, baby. Nothing in life is for free. So welcome to the show, panel. Thank you for being here. Moreno, stick.
I am excited. This is our first panel with lawyers. So I'm excited to have you guys here. So welcome. I know you guys are super busy on Sundays. You probably just want to rest, but I can't tell you how excited I am to have you guys on our show today. And I want to make sure everybody knows what our background is. And so I'm going to go ahead and start off to the person on my right. I'm going to start off with Jim. Jim, and everybody has the same question. Okay, so we're going to start off with you, Jim. Let's tell the audience a little bit about yourself, where you live, how long have you been in the legal profession, and when did you first know you wanted to be a lawyer?
Okay, well, thank you. And Josh and Dr. Moreno, thanks for giving me the opportunity to participate in this. So I have been a lawyer for 51 years. I graduated from the University of Texas Law School in 1975, so that's 51 years ago.
Wow.
And I fairly quickly got into the area of school law, which I found very interesting and rewarding in a lot of ways. I started a law firm in 1983. It's now known as Walsh Gallegos, Kyle Robinson, and De Los Santos. And I recently retired from the firm, and I'm what we now call of counsel. So unlike Christina and Lisa, I am not real busy right now. It's a lazy Sunday afternoon for me, but I'm pleased to have the opportunity to participate in this. When did I decide to become a lawyer? I guess it's when I quit, when I decided I wasn't going to be a priest. I was going to be a priest. That was the goal. And I was in the Catholic seminary for 5 years, and I got a good education out of that. I don't regret that decision at all. But you know, they got a lot of real specific rules about your personal life. And I just decided I wanted a family, I wanted a wife, I wanted the children, and fortunately, I've had all that. So, so I live in Austin, Texas. I've been in Austin, Texas. I came here to go to UT undergrad, stayed on for law school, and just never left. So I've been here for a long, long time. So glad to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And I'm excited that you're here to give us 51 years of experience to all of our people out in the virtual world. So awesome. Thank you, Jim, for being with us today. Let's go down to Christina. Christina, same question. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live now, and how long you've been in the legal profession, and when did you know? Because I remember I said I wanted to be a lawyer when I was like 12, and I never made it.
Well, first, let me say thank you very much for having me on the show today. I'm excited to be here. I currently live in Northeast Texas in Hunt County. My husband and I specifically are in Royce City, but my law office is in downtown Greenville, Texas, which is just east of Rockwall, not quite as far as, say, Texarkana. But so Northeast Texas, we've been here since 2007. Absolutely love it. It's a little bit slower pace of life than what you might find in the Metroplex, like in Dallas. So it's good for us, good for our kids. I have been a lawyer for 19 years. I've owned my own law firm for the last 10 years. And when did I decide I wanted to be a lawyer? You know, that was probably after I got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice and realized that those NCIS forensic files investigators made for TV shows, crime solving shows, were not really real life, right? And so once I realized that that was probably not an actual career I could make, I looked at myself and said, okay, what else do you do with a criminal justice degree, right? And law school was the thing. So I went to law school, met my husband at the police department, decided that I wanted to be a lawyer, and have been doing it for the last 19 years. I was recently elected to district court judge. So January 1st, I'll be taking over as a district court judge here in Hunt County.
What? Wow, that is so cool. I love it. I love it. And I love the fact that husband's a police officer and you're a attorney, now judge. So that you must have some interesting conversations at the dinner table.
The dinner table is definitely interesting. One of the deals we made very early on, though, was to make sure that neither one of us wanted to talk about like criminal defense work or cases where our jobs and my job might overlap with his. So I've never done criminal defense work as a favor to my husband, but we do swap war stories every now and then at the dinner table. And I think our kids look at us and go, "What? That happened at work today?"
How fun. How fun. Well, thank you so much again for joining us today. I'm looking forward to hearing more about you and your work. And last but not least, Lisa, same question to you, my friend.
Yes, thank you both for having me on. And I'm really inspired to be on with Jim Walsh and Christina as well. A little bit about me. I've been practicing for 22 years. I grew up in the Houston area. And I actually am a proud graduate of HISD, Dr. Moreno.
How cool. Where'd you go to school?
So I went to 2 schools. I went to the High School for Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice.
Yeah, I know the principal.
And I graduated from DeBakey because like every Indian kid, I was encouraged to become a doctor. And I broke my parents' heart and told them I wanted to be a lawyer. And I wanted to be a lawyer ever since I saw this character that played a lawyer on General Hospital when I was 8 years old. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I want to do. And I didn't even know a lawyer. Like, I didn't know what the LSAT was or anything. So it was just definitely a work in progress myself. But I grew up in Houston and I came to the DFW area for a job. I was an employment lawyer at a firm in Dallas And Dallas ISD happened to be looking for a lawyer that did employment. They were so big. They had an attorney just specifically for that. And so I went there because my husband, we had just had a baby and he was traveling all the time. He's in finance. And I was like, one of us needs a gig where we're around. And so I fell in love with school law when I went to Dallas ISD. And I mean, it was just so fascinating. You have all these, you have special ed issues, you have custody issues, First Amendment, personnel. So I was at Dallas ISD as an assistant general counsel for 6.5 years. And then Garland happened to be looking for a general counsel. And then Dr. Ricardo Lopez, the superintendent, never worked with the general counsel. I never met him. We just took a chance on each other. And I have been at Garland now for 8 years. So
that is awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I'm super excited. We have 3 different settings, right? 3 different lawyers, but from 3 different settings. So this is so cool. It's going to be amazing, Josh. You just went all out on this panel.
Well, it's great panel, great guests, everybody. But here we go. We're going to peel that onion. Esa cebolla. We're going to peel it a little bit back, a little deeper into your stories. Not that much, but just a little bit, Christina. So here we go. Go back. This is as elderly as I'm going to get. Go back into your card catalog. Go back into it and then retrieve from there. What or who was your favorite coach or teacher in school? Obviously, up until high school. Doesn't matter. Pre-K all the way to senior year in high school. What was your best memory, if you remember from, doesn't matter what level, and how or what role did your parents play in helping you reach your current status?
And you're starting with me, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So my most influential teacher, I went to Bishop Lynch Catholic High School, and we had a sister, Cecilia Sayre, who was my chemistry teacher, my biology teacher, my AP teacher. And she was my most influential because she was brutally honest all the time, right? But what that meant is that sometimes she was able to say, hey, are you really sure that's the right path for you? Are you really sure that's a college you want to apply to? Maybe you would do better in an environment like this one. And so she really formed a lot more of the path that I wound up taking in my higher education than I think she probably ever gave herself credit for. But it was by being willing to have those tough conversations with me and say things like, UT Austin and the big giant campus, you come from a private Catholic high school, you're going to get lost there, and not be able necessarily to fulfill your dreams, which a lot of teachers didn't want to look to a student and say something, that honest, but she was right. And it was still encouraging and still allowed me to pursue my dreams and to still get a higher education. But she helped me to find the path that was best suited for me. And she did a good job as well, kind of explaining that with my parents and helping me to explain to my parents why I was going this way. And so I wound up going to undergrad at the University of Texas at Dallas, as opposed to UT down in Austin. And my parents thought, oh my gosh, is that because she's staying behind for some boy, or is that because she's giving away scholarship opportunities, to these big universities across the country? No, it's because we recognize that this is where she'll be able to flourish best. And so while it took some coaching, right? It took a little bit of coaxing to get them into my side of the things. Ultimately, we all got on the same page, and they definitely played a vital role in supporting me and making sure that I pursued all of my educational dreams to get through not only undergrad, but also my law degree at Baylor. And so I'm definitely very grateful to all of them.
Beautiful. Awesome. Awesome. What you got, Lisa?
Oh, influential teacher, this easy one. It was actually at the law enforcement school. We had an English teacher. She was my 9th and 10th grade honors English teacher, and Dr. Benny Shepard, and she was amazing. And I remember she was so tough, but you wanted to please her, and you never wanted to disappoint her because she had high standards. And I remember she had this saying. She would say, I do not want your crumbs. I want the whole loaf. And you wanted to give her the whole loaf, because you never wanted to disappoint her. And I remember we read this book, Lord of the Flies. And I was just so looking forward to going to English class every day to talk about Lord of the Flies, and who's got the conch, and, all those things that they would talk about in that book. But she was amazing. And You know, as far as a formative high school experience, so I went to a magnet school, so we didn't have sports, and but we did have mock trial at law enforcement, and so formative experience was like participating in mock trial during that time, and my first opening statement was so sad, like, but the teachers cared. And then because I went to a school for health professions too, I learned how to do hospital corners. So now I always have to make a bed with hospital corners. So
Oh.
What about your
I hope I
parents?
answered the question.
Yeah, what about your parents?
Oh, well, I had Indian immigrant parents, so there was no question that I was going to go to college and possibly grad school. I did break their hearts when I said I was not going into medicine. But my sister became a dentist, so that kind of assuaged them a little bit. But they always stressed education. My mom actually was a nurse. She's retired now, and my dad is an engineer. And so school was always very much a focus. And I told them when I think I was young at the time, I wanted to become a professional singer. And I think my sister told them that same week that she wanted to become a professional chef. And my dad was like, "Where did we go wrong?" Like, but we made it through, our education. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Jim, talk to us.
So I never went to a public school other than, well, at kindergarten, I went to a public school and I took driver's ed at a public school. Other than that, it was Catholic school all the way. My mother was a third grade teacher in the Catholic school that I went to on the south side of Chicago. And,
Chicago.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's where I grew up. I was there for first 12 years of my life. And then my dad had a couple of job transfers and we ended up in Houston. But so anyway, so yeah, education was, my mother had been to college. She was the first college graduate, and it was just expected that all three children were going to go to college. So that was a given. And I was the youngest of the three. So, I kind of followed in the footsteps of my brother and sister. As far as influential teachers, I'm going to, hard to pin down one of them. There were two of them in high school that had a particularly big impact on me. And I was in the Catholic seminary. I was in a boarding school, so they had us 24/7, and it was all boys, obviously, boarding school. And I think the teacher that influenced me the most was Father Donovan, and a couple of things he did. For one, he was the first person that ever suggested to me that America had ever done anything wrong. I had been fully indoctrinated during the McCarthy era that we were the good guys and the Russians were the godless communists, and it came in the context of the Mexican War over the Texas border. And the way he explained it was, he said, America said, "We want this land," and Mexico said no. And then America held a gun to Mexico's hand and said, "Now what do you think?" And they gave us the land. And I thought, what? We did that? We don't do that. But yeah, he said that's what we did. And he was kind of contemptuous of athletics. We were all interested in athletics, of course, and he called basketball, boys running around in their underwear, and he said, how many boys can score 10 points in a basketball game? How many can speak 6 languages? Be the one who can speak 6 languages. I don't, nor have I scored 10 points in a basketball game. So, but the other priest was Father McGlinchey. He was a tough Irish priest from Philadelphia, and he was in charge of discipline. And the most noteworthy discipline assignment, we got in trouble one time because I was on the dishwashing crew, and we were singing too loud, and we were bothering the nuns who cooked for us. And so he told us to show up at the study hall the next day after classes, and we did. And he said, "Take out a pen and paper and write this down." So we wrote down, "This stupid assignment, which is a monumental waste of time, should be a reminder to me that I lack respect for the rights of others. Furthermore, as a result of this stupid assignment, when I'm called upon to perform duties in the kitchen in the future, I will endeavor to do so in a more gentlemanly fashion." I wrote that 500 times, cursive. And it had its desired effect. You can ask my wife. I'm very gentlemanly in the kitchen these days. And I have learned to do hospital corners, by the way. So, taught not by a nurse, but by my wife. So,
Well,
good.
there you go.
Yeah, great questions, Josh.
Thank you. Thank you. A big shout out to Kenyelle Sessions, my sister from Oklahoma. Thank you for being here. And our number one cheerleader to the Fantastic Four from Illinois, Dodd Makira Jeter. Thank you for being on the show. Stick, Moreno.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I was born and raised in Chicago, Jim. That's why I was like, yay, Chicago.
Whereabouts?
Yes.
Where?
West Side, off of Peoria and 18th Street, right underneath the Pink Out train.
Okay, well, you were in the city, right? Not a suburb?
No,
Okay.
I was in the city.
Doesn't it bother you when somebody says they're from Chicago and then you find out they're from Bolingbrook or something?
Exactly. I'm like,
It's
no,
not
that's
right.
not Chicago.
Not right. You know.
No, so I hear you. And I'm also a Baylor Bear. So there you go. So we're good.
Yeah.
So let's start off with our first lawyer question. I'm going to have Lisa start us off this time. So Lisa, this question is for
Thank
you. In your opinion, what court case has had the greatest impact on education in modern times and why?
Oh, wow. This question is probably better for Jim Walsh. Because he has such a breadth of experience.
Do you want him to go first and then you want to go to...
Yeah, let him go
Okay,
first.
Jim, why
He's the
don't
goat.
that way
Yeah.
they can kind of think about what they want to think of a court case. So Jim, why don't we start off with you? Can you think of a court case?
I have to get my my prop. Just a second.
Oh, I would love a prop. Oh my good. Woo, I love it. See, this is show and tell, you guys. This is show
see
and
that?
tell.
Is that the Tinker armband?
Mary Beth Tinker autographed armband, Lisa.
That's the case I was going to
How
say.
about that? That's
I don't even know the case, so please
John Tinker
explain.
and Mary Beth Tinker. These were the kids in Des Moines, Iowa, that wore black armbands to school to protest the war in Vietnam, even though the principal had said anybody that wears a black armband is going to get suspended from school. So they got suspended and they took their case all the way to the Supreme Court and they won. And so I heard her speak actually I was on a panel discussion with her in Arizona a couple of years ago. And all the lawyers lined up to get an autographed black armband from Mary Beth Tinker. So I would say that's had a huge impact. It was the first case that established that students do have constitutional rights of free speech at school. And to this day, I have mixed feelings about it. You know, I got a real good education in Catholic school, and we didn't have free speech. And it worked for me. But the court said that students do not shed their constitutional rights when they enter the schoolhouse gate. That's the quote you hear the most. And it's had a huge impact, I think. And there have been a number of cases since then, that follow up on all that. So I would mention that one. But, you can't not mention Brown versus Board of Education. That was transformational, not just of public education, but of our entire society. I think it's the most important court case of the 20th century, and we're still dealing with it. We're still struggling with it. But I've always found it very interesting that, public schools were not the only thing that was racially segregated in the 1950s. Practically everything was racially segregated.
Sure.
And I've always found it interesting. The court could have taken cases involving a number of different industries. They chose public education for a reason, because they knew that if we desegregate our public schools, if we can make that transformation as a society, it'll have a huge impact on everything, and it has. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Those are great court cases, first of all, and
Can I
absolutely.
piggyback
Now
off
it's your
of,
turn, so
Jim?
you can either piggyback or come up with another court case.
Yeah. So excellent cases mentioned by Jim. I was going to mention Tinker and definitely Brown versus Board of Education. And interestingly enough, that case, the Supreme Court reversed itself, because that Brown versus Board of Education reversed Plessy versus Ferguson, which said separate versus equal. separate is
Mhm.
equal, you know, but Brown versus Board of Education said, no, it really isn't. And interestingly enough, Garland ISD is the only school district in the state of Texas that still is under a federal
Wow.
DSEG order. And interesting enough, I actually talked to one of the lawyers in your firm, Jim, who got San Angelo ISD out of the DSEG order. And recently, this past February, we're, you know, under a Trump administration, and this U.S. attorney had said that they have a charge basically to get all of these school districts that are still under a federal DSEG order out of a federal DSEG order. And so they recently filed a motion for unitary status on their own, the U.S. attorney. They conferred with Garland. And since we're the only school district left in Texas with it, I had to take it to the board as far as whether, because like in court cases, when you file a motion, you have to do what is called a certificate of conference to see if the other parties agree, disagree, or if they're opposed. And the board had to vote whether they were opposed, or if they were in agreement. And so you can imagine the
Mhm.
politics behind that, because the Garland NAACP had filed what is called a plea to the intervention previously. And so they were an intervener, they were a party to it. So the board voted to agree with the motion. So that was filed in February, and it's pending right now in federal court in Judge Kincaid's office. So in the Northern District.
Wow, that's that. Thank you for sharing, first of all, because that
Yes.
is, I mean, that's reality. That's what's happening right now. And wow, I mean, even Jim didn't even know. So I mean, this is pretty interesting. So thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing. How about you, Christina? Is there a court case, or do you want to piggyback something you already heard?
So I'm going to bring up a different one, maybe a little bit more of a hot button topic, but I wanted to talk about Engel versus Vitale, which is a 1960s, maybe 62, 63 Supreme Court case, the one that originally held that schools could not have government sponsored prayer. So that one started in New York. The New York school wrote and had the kids recite the prayer each day at the beginning of the school day, and it went up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said no. You know, you can't force government sponsored prayer time at school, even if participation was voluntary. Still having the government sponsored prayer in the classroom was not appropriate. Now, more recently, just back in 2022, I call it the Kennedy case. I honestly can't even remember where it came from or who the other party was, but it was the football coach, you know, the public school football coach who wanted to have his own personal time of prayer before the football games, which the Supreme Court then held, okay, yes, that part is allowed. So there's a strong difference now. And we've kind of got a framework to be able to follow about what really is the difference between government sponsored and school written prayers, and students who voluntarily engage or students who lead, and a teacher's ability to kind of have their own freedom of speech, and just balancing sort of those two competing rationales to allow everyone to sort of practice their own faith even during the school day, so long as it's not a government sponsored or school mandated activity.
Interesting. Thank you. Now I'm gonna Josh, I have to ask this question. I'm sorry. And I'm gonna throw this out to just anybody because I'm going off script for a second. But there's two things. Number one, the 10 Commandments, since we're all Texas folks, right?
Yeah.
So do you think, I know Jim's going like this, like, why are you even bringing this up? So 10 Commandments, can you talk anything about that? And then the second one is Plier versus Doe.
So I can
Okay,
go ahead, Jim.
let me take on the 10 Commandments. It's going to go to the Supreme Court, I'm sure. There's a 1980 decision from Kentucky involving a statute that's virtually the same as the Texas statute. It required the posting of the 10 Commandments in every classroom. And the Supreme Court said that's unconstitutional. That violates the notion of an establishment of religion. So when this case first came up, I thought, well, this isn't decided. The law's decided in this area. The Supreme Court's already addressed it. But the Fifth Circuit didn't see it that way. And all 17 judges on the court were part of this. It was very close. It was 9-8, the vote. It broke down pretty much on party lines. There were 6 Trump appointees on the court. They all said the statute was constitutional. There were 5 justices appointed by Democratic presidents. They all said it's not constitutional. There were 4 judges appointed by George W. Bush. 3 of them sided with the Democrats, but one of them sided with the others, and that made the difference. So, yeah, did I get that right? No, I think it was just the opposite. Yeah, no, I got that right. That's what they did. So anyway, it's going to go to the Supreme Court, and we'll see. We'll see.
You're laughing.
I think it's unconstitutional. I think the Supreme Court will declare it unconstitutional. I really do. I find it interesting. Either 6 or 7 of the Supreme Court justices, like Christina and I, went to Catholic school, and Catholics have a lot of history with this because that's not. We've got a different version of the 10 Commandments. That is the Protestant version of the 10 Commandments, and they're putting that in the kids' faces every day. And so we'll see. It's just part of the public schools are ground zero in the culture wars. And that's exactly what this is about. It's culture wars.
Agree. Well, thank you so much, Jim, for sharing. Anybody else on the either 10 Commandments, Pryor versus Doe? Those are the 2 cases that I'm just watching.
I'll jump in on the 10 Commandments. I've actually had to deal with the issue. And so when it first came out, the law, SB 10, I just know it by heart now. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And so some of the wealthier school districts, they went and just purchased them. And so the law says that a district does not have to purchase them, but if they're donated, and if they meet the statute 16 by 20, and then they have the certain verses. And I am not Catholic. I am Christian. I'm Eastern Orthodox. And so, and I went to Baptist schools, ironically. And so I'm like a real mix, but I have a big issue with the 10 Commandments being posted there because I am Indian and because I grew up in a country that has a variety of religions. I just think it's a violation of church and state. But anyway, I was like, okay, so what are we going to do, if we get some donations? And I was like, we're going to form a committee, So I formed a committee at Garland ISD because I didn't want our principals having to deal with that issue.
That's smart.
And so we have a committee of legal, which is me, maintenance and facilities, and it's like an executive director. We had communications, and then we had purchasing. And so we created like an email, and we put it on our website. And the email address is TC Donations. And so like if you want to donate some 10 Commandments as a citizen, you can, but it's got to meet the statute. And I personally met with the one person who wanted to donate, and it was a particular campus, which is where he went to school. And I shook his hand, and I had my little tape measure, and I'm like, okay, we're going to measure this. And then we got to, and I had the little code, the education code. I'm like, okay, does it say all these things? And so then, this person was irritated that they did not go up fast enough. And he wasn't able to walk the campus and see where it was posted. And I'm like, sir, the statute does not get, dictate that you get to peruse.
Witness.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this guy. Anyway, he's my most favorite community member, can you tell? And but we're just dealing with it. And he has subsequently made some more donations. He's the only person in the community who has.
Yeah.
And we gave him like a little receipt to let him know your donation has been accepted. So that's how we've dealt with that with the 10 Commandments. But I do agree with Jim. I do think it's going to go to the Supreme Court. It'll be interesting to see what they do. Pryor versus Doe, as you know, that is the right for immigrants, whether they are legal or illegal, to still have a public education, right? And there was great fear in the community, and Garland has a large Hispanic population, that they were going to have ICE agents at the school. And when all of these raids were taking place, you actually saw a drop in enrollment and
Yeah.
a drop in attendance. And it was so sad because I'm just like, the kids are not, they just want to go to school, and the parents want to send their kids to school. That's the safest place for kids to be.
Mhm.
And now school is kind of seen as a place where it's not a safe place because they can get snatched. And then you have the thought of, okay, if my kid gets snatched or if I get snatched, who's going to take care of the kid if they come home? So it's very sad. I haven't seen that happen. Let me knock on some wood. I haven't seen that happen here in Texas yet. And I hope it doesn't because,
It's happened.
oh, it has?
It has. Yeah, I know some kids already.
I've heard that same thing from other in-house councils in large districts, that the attendance is one of the factors in the lowering of attendance is kids are afraid to come to school.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
afraid, they're afraid that, not just that they might get picked up, but are their parents going to be at home when they come back?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
story.
And these are good kids. These are good kids that are going to school every single day. And now
Right.
they're back in El Salvador. So
Yeah, there was
like,
a story in the Austin paper, I think today or yesterday, about a father and a 5-year-old boy who got picked up on the way to soccer practice, and they're detaining both of them.
that's terrible.
Yeah.
And what did they do?
Detaining
Nothing.
both of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Christina, is there anything else you want to add? I hate to not include you in this.
I was just going to say, with the Plyler versus Doe, I've spent a large portion of my career representing kids in foster care, and sometimes that documentation gets lost, right? And so even if they are documented, whether they were born here or immigrated here, a lot of times we don't have immediate access to that documentation. And
Correct.
so you'd be surprised how often we have to fight just for all children, regardless of their birth status, to be able to be enrolled in school sometimes, because the districts, and I understand districts have their, checklist of documents that are needed for enrollment and the things that they want, to be presented with. But when you think about a foster care kiddo who's, sometimes yanked from their home in the middle of the night, or, on a weekend by a night worker, and that documentation doesn't get neatly packed up and sent with them, right? And the last
Yeah.
thing I want to do is be fighting bureaucratic red tape for 2 and 3 weeks to get that documentation and get it sorted out before I can get these kiddos and their placements, get these kiddos enrolled in school, right? Because
Yeah.
definitely that gives them back some normalcy and some routine, which is what they really need to start, recovering and moving forward and helping to process their trauma. So it even goes a little bit broader than that. And I just kind of wanted to, put that little perspective in there. But certainly, I think we can all agree on this panel that, we want these kids in school. We want them
Yeah.
getting education, and anything we can do to help facilitate that possibility for them is a win for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Josh. I'm sorry. I had to ask those 2 questions. Those were amazing answers though, but appreciate it.
All right. So the next couple, 3 questions are, man, they could take like 7 hours each one, but just by your experience. And we ain't going to do 7 hours. All right. It's a podcast. So, that in education, there's a huge exodus. My generation, the 30 plus people, we're leaving. We're retiring. After COVID, it just expedited the process. And a lot of people are being elevated to leadership positions that are not ready. That's just facts. They're just not ready for the chair. And so based on that, that gives you guys business. So let's make sure right now, this is not legal advice. This is the second time I say it. So YouTube, don't ban this show. It's a great show so far. Jim, what's your advice to a novice administrator? You could call it AP or principal. What's the best advice? And you don't have to go like into detail about it, but just what's your advice based on all the occurrences that you've had in your profession to help them out as they take on the chair this year?
Yeah, good question, Josh. For one thing, we have a lot of associations that provide a lot of support to administrators. Certainly TASB, TASA, and the Principals Association. I do quite a bit of work with the secondary school principals, for example, and TEPSA, Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisors. So I would get plugged into those things. I would encourage them to go to conferences that are sponsored by those organizations and so on, and then network with their colleagues, to learn from each other. And networking with your colleagues is a great thing to do, but when they run into legal issues, they need to distinguish between what my colleague suggests and what the lawyer advises, because the colleague may have great experience and good common sense and all of that, and that's great. But if it's a legal issue, you need to be talking to a lawyer, and you need to be talking to the lawyer that represents your school district. Now, more and more districts have in-house counsel like Lisa, and that's the go-to place. So get to know those folks, get on a first name basis with them, establish a relationship. Those are the kind of things I'd recommend.
Thank you very much, Christina.
Absolutely. I think first and foremost, especially at the beginning, listen more than you talk, right? When you first get there, it's an opportunity to learn who the people are, the people that are going to be working with you and for you. And I think those administrators that come in and want to try to change those people immediately without learning those people and getting to know those people run into the roadblocks, right? And run into sort of that upheaval or, sense of like a peaceful protest, right? So at the beginning, you've got to listen more than you're talking. And I think too that if we remind our administrators, be the kind of administrator that you would really want your own child to have, right? If you're going to administrate in this position and you're going to lead this campus, then be the kind of leader you would want to work for. Be the administrator you would want your kid to come onto campus and see. And I think that certainly, at least at the very beginning, to accomplish that, you've got to be willing to listen more than walking in and saying I'm right and I know everything more than you. And that's where I think, especially with some young administrators taking these seats, we kind of get that sense of morale that they just know better and they come in and try to change everything. And that's not always going to create the right cultural environment for those particular campuses or roles.
Thank you. And just like what Dodd McKeever Jeter says for Illinois, you could also go back to, like I said earlier, to episode 110. We had TEPSA, TASSP. We had different organizations on the show, the presidents for the state of Texas. Check out that show and they'll give you advice on how to become part of that. And yes, 2 years, one mouth. Love it right there. Lisa.
Yes. First, I want to give a shout out to all principals and assistant principals. I think y'all have the hardest jobs in the whole org of a school district because you're dealing with not only your students, you're dealing with their parents, you're dealing with teachers, and then you got big bad administration that comes on high and has these directives, and then you're like, you got to get your student scores up and all the things. But what I love about being in-house counsel is I feel like in my own small way, I can help the organization. And yes, I'm not improving student scores or things like that, but if I can take a load off a principal, I am so happy to do it. I'll give you an example that just happened on Friday. We had a teacher that was served a subpoena to go down to this custody case on a family court matter. And it was for Monday morning at 9, tomorrow morning at 9. So I called up the attorney who issued that subpoena. I said, look here, sir, you are going to get this first grade teacher off of a campus and you are going to leave all these students in first grade, a critical year, without a teacher. And then we're going to have to pay for ourselves for your little custody matter. And he's like, well, we have a TRO. And I'm like, that sounds like a you problem. That does not sound like a Garland ISD problem. And why didn't you file for a business records affidavit? I could have given you an affidavit for all those records. This teacher doesn't know anything. And he's like, well, I just want to be able to establish that the dad is the primary caretaker. Again, enrollment documents will help you with that. Counseling records, this little first grade teacher is not going to help you with that. She's not even the homeroom teacher. Anyway, long story short, I called up the principal, pulled her out of a meeting. I said, principal, we're going to get these records. We're going to get them scanned and we're going to get it to him. By 5 o'clock, we had a business records affidavit signed, even though he didn't have enough time for 14 days to file it. All of a sudden, he had the time to do it. And he said, if you can get me these records, I'll release the teacher. Well, guess what? We got him the records at 5 o'clock on a Friday. He said she is released. So now the students will have a first grade teacher in a classroom on Monday, and she does not have to go to the hearing in downtown Dallas. So,
Lisa, as a
Perfect.
practitioner in that kind of law, let me just say thank you, thank you, thank you, right? Sometimes that's all we need is somebody to step in and say, how can I work with you? And
yes.
what do you need? And how can I get it for you without disrupting these students and their school day? And thank you for jumping on that. And obviously I know nothing about that case, but it sounds like you did exactly the right things for everybody involved.
Yeah, it's not that crucial, dude. I mean, like some records will work just fine. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you,
I love
Pamela.
shout out to Garland ISD for having the best counsel out there.
Oh,
Awesome.
I try in my small part, and luckily this teacher doesn't have to fight the downtown traffic and, go to the courthouse, all the things.
Just a big shout out to Principal Cafele. He joined us real quick. I don't know if he's in the air right there, but Jefe, thank you for being here. Moreno, stick.
Awesome, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna do. This is a 2-part question, but we're gonna make it really quick. Okay. So again, it is. We'll start off with Lisa. Lisa, I think this is gonna be an easy question for you because you're already a superstar with Garland ISD. So, what advice would you give to a new teacher entering the classroom? You kind of mentioned some of those things already. And in your opinion, what do great teachers do for their kids?
Oh, wow. Well, I've not been on a campus. I was not a teacher. But I just think that, not only just do your pedagogy, right? What you learn, but really just be there for the kids. I think that your students know when a teacher cares. Like we
Oh, yeah.
all remember, even though we've been practicing for a while, we can all name teachers that really impacted us, right? So be that teacher. Be that teacher that you remember growing up, that you remembered. And so that would be my advice. And then listen to your principals. They really do want the best for you, and they want the best for the campus. Sometimes the principal is looking at something up here that you as a teacher may not necessarily see at your level, but they're looking at the whole org or the whole school, and they know what the metrics are that they need to meet. And so trust your principal. Like your principal took the time to hire you. They don't want to fire you. You know what I mean? They want you to improve. And my advice is, and especially I've noticed in the younger generations, I am not in that younger generation, but they're very sensitive. And I'm like, just listen, not everything has to be like an insult. Like you can learn from it and take it constructively. So that's what my advice would be.
Great advice. Awesome. Jim, and you've been in this for a little while now. So tell me, what advice do you give a new teacher entering school, and what do great teachers do?
Well, yeah, I have been at this for a long time, but I've never been a teacher, and I just think it's such a difficult job, and it's a skill and an art, and so I don't know that I'm qualified to answer this question. But the one thing I would say is, education is a relationship business. So be attentive to the relationships with your colleagues, with your administrators, with the parents, and obviously with the students. But and it's a very stressful job, and so take some time for yourself, whatever you need to do to get your head screwed on right every day when you go to school, whether it's prayer or meditation or yoga or something. And I know most teachers are also parents, and there's not enough time. Get up an hour earlier, but you've got to find some time for yourself to face the stresses that you're going to have on a daily basis in the schools.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice. And I think because you guys are in education, you guys work with a lot of educators. And so, you can always kind of think of what not to do because you're obviously representing a group of people. Something happens. So, take it like that. Christina, how about you?
Absolutely. Sure. I'll just build on the relationships component that Jim was talking about. Kids remember who shows up for them, right? And so I think as teachers, building those relationships before you need them with the students in your classroom is so important. Building those relationships with their caregivers is so important because I think how often, I know personally, just as a mom, when I get the call from the school, you assume it's something bad automatically, right?
Absolutely.
Don't be the teacher who never calls home with the good news. Be okay about calling home with the good news so that you're building that rapport with the caregiver, so that you're noticing when that kid who's always talking all of a sudden stops talking, but you've got the relationship to follow that up and be able to ask why. It definitely reminds me of Clint Pulver, I think was his name, and it's Mr. Jensen was his teacher, and he does the little podcast and video on YouTube where he was always tapping on the desk in class, and he kept getting in trouble for being the tapper. And it was finally Mr. Jensen who looked at him and said, "I don't think you're a bad kid. I think maybe you're a drummer." And he went on to be a drummer, right? And so it's just recognizing those, what can I turn this behavior or what can I turn this component into make it a positive and to help make this kid successful with it. And I think we could all do that, not just teachers. I know their jobs are hard enough. My dad's been a teacher my whole life. He's on his third career, having retired twice. But I think certainly we can always look for those positives.
Awesome. You must be listening to our other podcast because we talk about that the same. I mean, we talk about this over and over and over again. So awesome. Thank you so much. And if you have not already liked and shared, I've had some great conversations. You've dropped some great nuggets and some great insights. So if you haven't done it already, please like and share the show so that the algorithm can spread across the other parts of the world that we're not reaching. And again, most important, go to YouTube because we have to get, 300 more followers. I know we're trying to reach 300, right, Josh?
Exactly. So this pretty much is a universal, I think, in most industries, communication. And a lot of times the lawyer aspect of it gets hit because of bad communication or not saying something right in a memo, on a SMORE, on a call out. There's a lot of that things that semantics, people read into stuff, and then you guys have to be there to help out. So what is your opinion, Christina, in regards to how can a campus and the parents create a better system of communication to where nothing's lost in the weeds, nothing's lost in that gray area? Because then when I'm filling out my parent square as a principal, I'm thinking positive intent. Mm-hmm. Yet again, when Josh, the parent of 3 boys at 3 different schools, read it, I might say, the hell is that principal writing? So that's just the way it is. So Christina, what's your approach to this? How do you think that there could be a better communication system between the campus and parents?
Well, can I just first, not as even a lawyer, but just as a mom, say, oh my gosh, could we please have one more app? I feel like maybe we don't have enough apps. And so if we could just have one more app, that would be great, right? And that's clearly written in sarcasm font because that's all we have is apps after apps after apps. But I understand their roles and I understand their necessity. And so I think maybe what would help streamline some communication for many busy parents, if you think about, who you're communicating to and setting that, I don't want to say setting the bar low, because it's not that there's anything wrong with the parents having a low bar for their communication. It's that they've got 20 things going on, right? They're making dinner, they're talking about sports practice, they're trying to get homework done, they're trying to get laundry done so they can get clothes on their kids for tomorrow. And then now I've got this message from the school I've got to follow through on. Let's get those nuggets in there. What's the important bits of information I need to know? What's the one place I can go and get it quickly? And then you tell me exactly what do I need to do with it, right? I get so much communication from my kids' school that's just long and rambling, and there's just no need for it. I mean, to be quite frank, right? Like, if we could just barrel it down to the nuts and bolts of the information that we need for those parents, get them the action items. Here's the info you need to know. Here's the action item we need from you in response, and move on, right? If it needs more than that, pick up the phone and call mom or dad or the caregiver and have that conversation, right? Because I think we got so used to as a society from getting away from the telephone. And maybe that's where some of our real communication problems started, because we read too much into the words on the written page versus the tone we can hear on that telephone call, right?
Perfect. I agree 1,000%. Lisa, what are your
Mhm.
thoughts?
Well, unfortunately, by the time it gets to my office, something has gone south, as you have said. But I guess I assume positive intent, and then I know sometimes some of our parents can be wheels off. You know what I mean? And so, they can sometimes not assume positive intent, and something gets lost in the translation. And I don't know what has occurred, but I've recommended face-to-face meetings, but I think sometimes the relationship has gotten very volatile at that point. They're afraid to have a face-to-face meeting. And I think that's where you have a strong principal that can come in for like say something the teacher did, the parent is not they're not communicating well. If that principal has that skill set, they can serve as a good mediator for both, and it can be a better relationship. So.
Thank you, Lisa. Jim, thoughts?
The only thing I would add is remember not to drop your professional standards when you're doing informal communication. That's it. And as lawyers, we see that all the time because if there is a conflict, all of those records are going to come out into the public.
Yeah.
And the wisecrack about the parents that is in print, as opposed to just something you said to somebody, it becomes crucial in
True.
defending the school district from whatever is going on. So, just when you're writing an email or a text or anything, just don't drop your professional standards in how you treat people.
Love that.
Got it, Moreno. Stick.
Awesome. Second to the last question, guys. So it's going to be, we're almost done. I promise. Jim, I'm going to start off with you, sir. So we're talking about discipline. So discipline issues can kind of quickly create that us versus them kind of mentality between students, parents, teachers, administrators. So what advice would you give educators, campus leaders to keep one discipline issue from damaging those relationships?
Wow. I've been a big proponent of restorative discipline, and I hear mixed things about it. It's the type of thing that makes a lot of sense to me in terms of, because what I understand it to be is restorative discipline, as I understand it, is an effort to get to the root of the problem.
Root cause.
Yeah, rather than the symptoms, and really involves teaching kids how to interact with each other. But I think it's very difficult to implement that campus wide, and when you do it halfway, it's not going to have credibility and it's not going to work. So I don't know. I don't have any real good suggestions about this. I think it certainly is. You're absolutely right. It's one of the most important things that we deal with. And when those phone calls that Christina says we get, that's oftentimes what it's about. That the student is acting out at school. I do think it's important that principals and assistant principals be very knowledgeable of their code of conduct.
True.
What does it authorize them to do? What does it not authorize them to do? And they really
being consistent.
and be consistent about it, because you're going to get accused of favoritism. You're going to get accused of favoritism either on racial lines or socioeconomic lines, or who's a good athlete, or what parents do we like. And, so it's very difficult to maintain that equity in how you treat the kids, but it's important. So,
but I'm a big proponent on, you said the word, restorative. Yeah, restorative, because I had it school wide. It works. It definitely works.
If the teachers are trained and if the teachers buy into it, I'm convinced it can work. It can really transform a campus, but it's hard to do it that way. It's really hard.
It was an uphill battle, but I mean, being there 20 years, I eventually kind of got the rubber meeting the road, and we were fine.
Good for you. Yeah.
Awesome. Christina, how about you? Talk to us about discipline issues and creating an us versus them.
Well, I think maybe we get the us versus them mentality and working with kids from hard places, and the kids that I work with a whole lot that have suffered from trauma. The world to them is an us versus them mentality,
Yes.
students versus adults. And I think what we have to do is more come alongside the student and make it teacher and student versus the behavior problem, right? And so I'm here with
Nice.
you to correct the behavior problem because I want you to succeed. And so there might be a consequence for sure, right? But there's a behavior that was unacceptable, a consequence that was given. The student understands why, and these adults involved still want me to succeed at the end of the day. If they leave thinking they won or, oh, I got away with it this time, well, then we've done something wrong. We've missed the
Right.
opportunity to strengthen that relationship with the student by creating, a team effort of us versus the behavior that we need to change. Maybe if we keep that a little bit more at the forefront, especially with those kiddos that I work with that have such traumatic backgrounds, it really
Mhm.
does help them to build those relationships, which we all know is the way we can level them up.
Flowers. Flowers to you, Christina. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Facts. Lisa, anything you want to add?
I don't think you're going to give me a flower, Dr. Moreno, on this one. Because, like, what I have been seeing is, say we have a kiddo that did something that was not appropriate, and they got a disciplinary referral. Rather than accept the disciplinary referral, we have seen a trend where parents are just as, for lack of a better term, off the chain as the kid. And like they're like fighting the administration, and we're like, well, no wonder this kid thought that this was appropriate behavior. And so that's what we've been struggling with lately. And lately I've been saying, okay, look, we're full up on crazy. You know what I mean? We can only indulge the crazy for so long. And so I've had to take a hard stance, and I'll tell my principals, I'll say, let me be the heavy on this one. Okay. Especially because, like, with Chat GPT, everybody is a lawyer now. And then they will like put it together an email, and they'll actually have court cases. I'll be looking at the sites. I'm like, back on that business site. And and so, but it gives me an easy in, because I'm like, oh, so they brought up a court case. They're threatening litigation. Let me step in and let me serve as the point of contact, which kind of eases the principal or the teacher a little bit. But I hate to do that. But sometimes you have to do that, because these parents sometimes are just kind of fired up too. So I told you we're not going to give me a flower.
Lisa, no, I'm going to give you a bouquet. Okay. And the reason I'm giving you a bouquet is because you are taking those licks for those principles, right? And so I love you for that, number one. And
Well, I
number
try.
and number two, that is what great people do. I would have probably done the same thing, right? You need to read my book, because my book is coming out, and there's that parent that is that off the chain parent. So
Mhm.
you're gonna actually, when you read my book, you're gonna see what I did with those off
Oh,
the chain parents.
I cannot wait. I'm all ears.
So yeah, no, yeah, that's right, Lisa. I back you 100%. No trophies here. All right, so here we go. The time where we need to do a little spotlight. You guys are been great guests. My sister Shika Houston, South Carolina, in the house. Go Gamecocks! Thank you for being here, my sister. Anything you'd like to promote right there for the audience? Christina, you got anything out there?
Well, if you live in Hunt County, vote on November 3rd. I need at least one vote to win my election in the general election, since I don't have an opponent, but I think I'll vote for myself. But I did write a book. I wrote a book last year called Beyond Differences, The Art of Collaborative Parenting. And it's about co-parenting after divorce or separation and helping to ensure that that journey doesn't become a traumatic one for your kids. You can get it on Amazon. So certainly if that book could be a help or a resource to parents, I certainly would want it to be there.
So it should be your honor in a couple of weeks, right?
Couple of months, but that's right. Yeah,
Months.
you'll have to start calling me your. Listen, I'm not going to be one of those year honors. Christina and ma'am and Miss Perone is still going to be just fine for me.
Aw.
Lisa, what you got?
Unfortunately, I am not that industrious. I'm just trying to get my daughter into college right about now and keep my job. So thank you for having me, though, on this program.
God, I don't know, just retired. I don't know. What do you want to promote, brother? All right,
Look at
talk to us.
him.
Talk to us.
The Educator's Guide to Texas School Law, 11th edition, just came out. Authored by
Nice.
myself and Sarah Orman, who happens to be my daughter. And so this is now available. Educator's Guide to
Nice.
Texas School Law.
And that is the Bible. I will back that. That is how I learned school law, and I
Oh.
still have a copy on my desk at work.
Oh, good to hear it, Lisa. Now you got to get the 11th edition. This is the latest.
All right, before we get into the lightning round, this is a fill in the blank question. Jim, finish the sentence. Hey, educator, you can have a great year in 26-27 by
Having a winning football team.
Yes, sir. Facts. You're in Texas. Christina, hey, educator, you can have a great year in 26-27 by.
Starting each day with a joke.
There you go.
Good.
Lisa, hey, educator, you can have a great year 26-27 by.
Asking all your students what was the best part of their day and what was the worst part of their day.
Love it. And we're here for the lightning round, the Échale Ganas question. Ganas, this is a PGP podcast for Ganas. Hispanics, we're not a monolith. Our beans are different. Our soups are different. When people call it papusas, we call it gorditas. It's totally different. The way we talk, our speeds are totally off. I cannot understand Puerto Ricans. I try to talk, no, hey, Mexican, I can't understand you, bro. Call them slow down. Cubanos, I don't understand them. I have to tell them, calmado, no te entiendo. But you know what? One thing, one word does unite us. Bolivia, Ecuador, Mexico, Peru, all of us. We use that one word, El Salvador, ganas. That is a spiritual word that's used from generation to generation. A grandma will yell to her granddaughter, échale ganas, mija. And it's not a word. It's a spiritual love that we share as a people. And so that's how I want you to make sure you answer these questions. And we're going to start off with you, future judge Christina. Lightning round, you're going to get them all at once, all right? So let's go real quick. Give advice to a freshman in high school about their future.
Don't feel like you have to pick the first thing off the shelf and stick with it. Everything's open to change.
What book would you recommend for other parents to read?
I think it's called Beyond Differences, The Art of Collaborative Parenting. You might have heard I wrote that book. It's available on Amazon.
Send some flowers to an active colleague who inspires you in your work. Name and title.
Lindsay Wilford, prosecutor with the Hunt County Attorney's Office.
What summer vacation spot stands out and you want to visit again?
What sort of what spot?
Summer vacation spot.
Blue Mountain Beach in Florida. Love going there as my rest and reset every summer.
What are your two favorite ice cream flavors?
Chocolate and strawberry.
What's your favorite action movie?
Top Gun.
If you had the financial means, which continent would you live with your family for 1 month?
Australia. I studied there in law school for a semester, and I would go back and live there in a heartbeat.
What do you do when it's time for you to recalibrate, focus on yourself?
Find a good fiction novel and bury myself in it for a little bit.
And how can people pick at your brain? How can they reach you, young lady?
Call me up at any time. I'm an open book. I'm happy to give resources and mentor when I can, answer questions. Do you want my actual contact information now, or you want that later?
Sure, do it right now.
Okay, you can reach me at cwperrone@yahoo.com. That's CWPERRONE@yahoo.com. And I promise to get right back to you.
Love it. Lisa, here we go. Give advice to a freshman in high school about their future.
Keep yourself open to everything. You don't have to pick your career in 9th grade.
What book would you recommend for other parents to read?
Let Them by Mel Robbins.
Send some flowers to an active colleague who inspires you in your work. Name and title.
Dr. Ida Perales, Deputy Superintendent.
What summer vacation spot stands out and you want to visit again?
Turks and Caicos. I've been there 3 times. I hope to go again and retire there one day.
What are your two favorite ice cream flavors?
Anything with peanut butter and mint chocolate chip.
What is your favorite action movie?
It's called Everywhere All at Once. It just won the Oscar this year.
If you had the financial means, which continent would you live with your family for 1 month?
Asia.
What do you do when it's time for you, young lady, to recalibrate and focus on yourself?
Like Christina, I read fiction.
How can people get a hold of you, learn from you, reach out and ask you questions?
They can send me an email, lray@garlandisd.net.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And Jim, give advice to a freshman in high school about their future.
You know, I just had the opportunity to do this. My granddaughter had her first year of high school last week, and I sent her a text message that morning and said, find somebody that looks more scared than you are and reach out to them.
Love it. What book would you recommend for parents to read?
I don't know. I've had some time to think about that, and I don't know. Nothing comes to mind.
Send some flowers to an active colleague who inspires you in your work. Name and title.
Joy Baskin, it's Texas Association of School Boards.
What summer vacation spot stands out and you want to visit again?
Ireland. No, Hawaii.
Hawaii.
What are your two favorite ice cream flavors?
Chocolate and coffee.
What is your favorite action movie?
Die Hard.
If you had all the financial means, which continent would you live with your family for 1 month?
Europe, specifically Ireland.
What do you do, sir, to recalibrate and recharge?
I do what I recommended for that teacher. I'd have the first hour of the day as my quiet time right here at this desk.
Love it. And how can people get a hold of you? Now, if you're retired, don't give it
Well,
up.
no, yeah, but they can get hold of me through the law firm. It's Walsh Gallegos, Kyle Robinson, and De Los Santos. And you could just Google Walsh Gallegos, Gallegos, walshgallegos.com. That's where we are. You can reach me there. I'm staying in touch.
Thank you very much, everybody, panel, for being here. Don't hang up, panel. Thank you. And thank you, audience. I know we came in a little bit early. Our numbers aren't that high as normal, but you know what? Everyone is lifing right now. So check it out on the rebroadcast, like it and share it, especially on YouTube. But remember, this is great advice for everybody out there. It doesn't matter what part of the United States in. This is solid knowledge brought to you by experienced educators and lawyers who deal with this field of education and everything that splatters around that world. So take this information and make it yours, because we're only stronger together. And don't forget to join us next week for our Principals Roundtable with Dr. Danielle Jackson, Patrick Hinson, Dr. Dave Warren, and Bradley Willis. Thank you for being here. Panel, say goodbye to everybody.
And don't hang up.
And don't hang up. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget, like and share, follow.